Sorry, Mary Sue, I'm too cool for you now. No, you read the title right. Terrible Writing Advice is here to instruct writers on how to avoid writing a Mary Sue. Does that mean I've turned over a new leaf where I produce high-value and well-researched videos that truly inspire and educate new writers so they can hone their craft without having to rely on cheap tricks? Yeah, sure, let's go with that. Mary Sue is a common term for an overly perfect character usually designed to be a shameless self-insert of the writer. However, online discourse has somewhat watered down the term to mean character I don't like. For the purposes of this video, a Mary Sue is merely an idealized, overly amazing character that hurts the story by being the writer's pet and probably a self-insert. Basically, the classic definition. Now, I still stand by my original Mary Sue video. In fact, here at Terrible Writing Advice, I still advocate for every character to be a Mary Sue. Protagonist, self-insert Mary Sue. Side characters, suitably Suedified. The villain, Sudistically Sue, a real Mary murderer. Background characters, suddenly Sueful. Every character should be a perfect idealized version of the author and exist solely to fulfill the writer's fantasies. But what if, hear me out, if other people think that writing a Mary Sue is bad? Oh no, I didn't think about that. Other writers, and more importantly, random people in internet comments, might declare me not a real writer. The worst thing you can be. I shall write fiction so grand, so perfect, and so great that no one will ever declare my characters a Mary Sue. Every last person on earth will all universally agree that my work is in fact objectively perfect in every way, and all my characters are totally deep, complicated, and multifaceted reflections of the human condition. All of humanity has never agreed on a single thing, but I'm sure all fandoms, who are infamous for starting endless flame wars over which not real people should hook up, will be willing to set aside their differences to agree that my characters are not a Mary Sue. Got to keep your expectations realistic. Fear not, for I'll let you know how to avoid the pitfalls of accidentally writing a Mary Sue, and definitely not leave writers vulnerable to falling into this completely different set of pitfalls right next to it. So let Terrible Writing Advice show writers how to ace those "is this character a Mary Sue" test, and show writers how not to write a Mary Sue. Now, the first thing every writer learns when they are trying to avoid writing Mary Sues is that Mary Sues never have flaws. They are perfect in every way. Therefore, the best way to not write a Mary Sue is to add flaws. Does that mean that the writer can just add a flaw or two to the character and call it a day? Why, yes. Yes, it does. This includes flaws like too beautiful or can't choose between hunky billionaire werewolf or hunky billionaire Highlander. You know, real problems that everyone deals with. But if a few flaws are good, then a bunch of flaws are even better. Just keep lumping on all kinds of character flaws until the character collapses under the weight of them. Realistic flaws can sometimes make a character easier to identify with, ground their characterization, and simply make them more interesting. But we're not shooting for realistic or interesting, but instead trying to throw off those naysayers in the comments who claim my character is a Mary Sue. Writing characters with flaws works best when flaws are treated like perks on an RPG character building system. They give you points to buy more abilities. Flaws can be taken seemingly at random and have no connection to the theme, tone, or even the character's motivations, backstory, or most importantly, character traits. A writer definitely shouldn't see character flaws as the flip side to character strengths, which form a complete character trait. Simply assume that character flaws automatically make a character more interesting, rather than being an element that merits some consideration or something that can naturally result from solid characterization. Another Mary Sue trait is that everything always goes their way. So naturally, the best way to avoid writing a Mary Sue is to make every single thing in the story go wrong for them, all the time. This will make the audience feel sorry for them. The audience will just ignore how contrived it begins to look when the character tried to get her morning coffee, but it somehow resulted in her dog being run over by the repo truck that towed away her car before she could drive her dying grandmother to the hospital. Then the coffee caught fire and burned her house down. When a character endures hardships, humiliation, or otherwise experiences tragedy, it can build both empathy and sympathy with the audience, provided the audience feels the character is worthy of it. Lump too much crap on them, and the audience will simply sympathize harder, not start laughing at how ridiculous it is. Will the audience feel feel sympathy for a deeply unlikable character who refuses to improve their situation? Of course! When a writer wants a character to be likable, obviously the writer is trying to make a Mary Sue. Therefore, I shall make my character as unlikable as possible. Who wants to read about likable characters anyway? Only amateurs who stupidly write Mary Sues want to ping characters that people would actually enjoy spending time with. That's not how to write. That even extends to the character doing anything in the story that's actually important. Another common Mary Sue quality is that they are essential drivers of the plot, and that everything that happens is about them. This problem can be easily avoided if the character merely does nothing at all. They just passively sit there and do nothing while the plot bends around them like a black freaking hole. There's nothing wrong with the reactive character rather than an active character, but to make sure no one calls my character a Mary Sue, I will have them just sit there and have stuff happen around them rather than take a single action that would move them closer to achieving their goals, which they don't have anyways. My character would never have a goal or motivation because only a Mary Sue would actually want things. What about abilities? Well, Mary Sue has all kinds of cool powers and abilities, so my character will not have any, even if it would make no sense for the setting. If the writer does want, then they can give the character a couple of worthless powers. No one can complain that my character is the center of everything and super special, even if she's the only non-magic user at a school made only for magic users. Is it that overpowering magic powers can rob the story of any tension if used excessively? Is it that overwhelming powers and abilities can still be made interesting by having the character use them in fun and unique ways? No, I can't think of a single popular story that features an overpowered main character. If they did, then that character would be a Mary Sue and therefore not a good character. And no one loves Mary Sue. I mean, outside of the fiction at least. Now that I have a character that is completely unlikable, has no abilities, way more personality flaws than is reasonable, and has zero ability or motivation to move the plot forward, there is no way they could be called a Mary Sue, even if all the characters still obsess over her. The entire universe still bends and revolves around her, and she is still the star of the story. What? You think just because she's described as super ugly that all the attractive cast still won't fawn over her? Can't have that. The whole point is to stop the audience from accusing her of being a Mary Sue, not stop me from writing an indulgent character whose presence hurts the story. See, she makes mistakes all the time. Mary Sue would never do that. I mean, the story bends over backwards to make sure all of her monumental screw-ups don't matter while all the characters just forgive her for some reason, but she still technically makes them, which makes her technically not a Mary Sue. Ha! Man, I'm smart. I've treated all the symptoms, so the disease should magically disappear. Besides, other characters still do stuff on their own, like buy my main character gifts, so it's not like she's still the center of the universe. I can't have my character share any of the common Mary Sue traits. See, this massive glut of articles on the internet says so. It's full of common Mary Sue traits that you never see in extremely popular characters from successful franchises. I can't think of a single popular character that's super attractive, has amazing superpowers and abilities, literally has the plot revolve around them, and are special enough to have the fates of entire universe-shaking prophecies hinge on their actions. Obviously no one wants that, and it would never sell. Could it be that Mary Sue is so hated, particularly in fanfiction, because she often usurps the roles of already popular characters while failing to mimic the character qualities that made them so popular in the first place? And that people consume fanfiction typically to enjoy spending more time with the characters that they love, only to find that this glittery hair, eye color changing, stale biscuit of a character is there bending the main cast to her will with zero blowback from anyone. Well, except for maybe the story commenters and reviews. No flames, please. In original fiction, Mary Sues can typically be the result of simply poor execution and author favoritism getting in the way of storytelling. I could try to dissect exactly what makes Mary Sues unlikable, but I think I'll instead fixate on all those common traits everyone keeps talking about. This makes taking all of those Mary Sue tests that float around on the internet an excellent use of time. What a great way to learn characterization, reducing Mary Sue to a freaking power level. This is definitely a useful tool, not a complete waste of time better spent just writing and learning through mistakes. I don't have time to write. I have to spend time worrying about what other writers will think of me. What if a big successful writer tells me I'm no good at writing because I wrote a Mary Sue? Yes, super successful writers clearly have time to personally tell other writers that they are writing wrong. And not even the writers. I have to worry about everyone on the internet calling my character a Mary Sue. My work must be liked by everyone. Everyone who writes Mary Sues does so because they are lazy. If you put in enough work, then you can make a work that's perfect. That's how that works. That's why I've never met a writer still workshopping their first book for over a decade. It's a matter of sheer effort, not experience. Put in enough time and I can write the best story in the world, and when my story becomes mega popular, there will not be a single person on the planet call my protagonist a Mary Sue. Every writer should carry this exact expectation. Obsessing over what everyone will think will never lead to the writer missing what their target audience will think. Better assume every life form on planet Earth will become a mega fan rather than simply accept that a lot of people aren't going to like my work, and that's okay. Don't worry, it's not a matter of when someone calls a character a Mary Sue, only if they do. That if being if anyone bothers to read my work at all. But why wouldn't they? My work is Mary Sue free. Corporations take note. This style of character creation is great for big franchises that have achieved the coveted cash cow status. Don't make a new character or a good character when we can make a bland committee design character with as much personality as a wet potato, but with none of the potential to cook into something actually good. This character can't be a Mary Sue because if they were, they might actually be more interesting. It's important for the writer to understand what the audience wants from a character in fiction, and people are great at articulating exactly what they want and never complain about it when they get it to the letter. People obviously don't want a character that they can project onto, feel special, do interesting things, or any other qualities. They want something that's so bland and tasteless that it would ace every Mary Sue test ever, because the character is never there to make the story worth enjoying. They're there because I don't want to get called out for writing a Mary Sue. Never mind that characters can be deeply unlikable, self-centered, a huge jerk, and still be fascinating to read or watch. So can a character that is likable, selfless, and kind, because all of those traits, both positive and negative, serve the story or their characterization. Which is a mistake, because obviously character and story should be beholden to the author's anxieties instead. The important thing is to indulge. Just rather than the author's wish fulfillment, it's instead the author's anxieties. If only there were a way between a self-indulgent blatant Mary Sue and a bland, boring, play-it-safe character. If only there were a way to write characters that have traits that encompass both good and bad qualities depending on the circumstance, as well as a solid motive. Alas, I've played too many RPGs, and as such can only see characters as a collection of stats and perks, rather than people with opinions and perspectives. My first work must be a magnum opus. When writing, you start out producing amazing works of art rather than having to actually build skill through experience and learning from mistakes. A writer can't just go ahead and write god-awful indulgent crap to get it out of their system. Never should a writer accept that. It's okay to be bad. You can always write something better later. But what then? Just not share it with the world? How will people know my character isn't a Mary Sue then? I must share my genius with the world, for the sake of seeking validation rather than focusing on improvement. Then I'll spend the rest of my time on the internet arguing semantics over what is and isn't a Mary Sue, which for a writer is a great use of time and resources. Fixating on the label Mary Sue is way more productive than just focusing on writing a good character. A perfect writer can never write a Mary Sue. A writer must be perfect and loved by everyone and never make a mistake or have any flaws and be the best, most amazing writer that everyone always talks about and obsesses over all the time. I must become the most special, important writer ever that everything revolves around. Only then will I be uh-oh.
Federation sold us a fresh batch, I see. Move along, prisoners. Oh, hey, he's got the old rig.
Old rig?
Yeah, the old Mark I animation rig. We're already on Mark II. Don't worry, they'll update you after orientation.
Orientation? Welcome, scum, to Wagwater, Megacorp's elite mercenary company. Wait, we're going to be soldiers of fortune? Does that mean I'm finally going to get my war?
Oh, no, we don't use the big W word anymore. Focus group says that's a no-no. We prefer the term security contract. We're not invading, we are providing prompt and direct security services. As a new security defense associate, it's very important that you maintain Wagwater's high standard of customer service, especially considering Wagwater is a subsidiary of Megacorp. Unless you get into trouble, in which case Megacorp has no idea who you are.
That just sounds like sales.
The orientation video will explain it better. Terrorism got you down? Democratic reformers trying to mess up a perfectly good military junta? Former client states asserting their sovereignty? Megacorp has a solution for you! Wagwater Security Company. Don't settle for any old soldier of fortune. Wagwater provides high-energy security solutions for a new age to actualize your earning potential. And now it's your turn to become part of the team. As a new security defense associate, you will be expected to maintain a high standard of customer service at all times. If a client insists on committing a war crime, you are to refuse in no uncertain terms. Unless they purchase the Gold Plan. Be sure to also offer our false flag service to cover up the crime and snag that upsell. All sales made by a security defense associate give a commission that will be put towards reducing your sentence. Just remember that all equipment will be charged to you, including spent ammunition, so make 'em count. Complete your full tour of duty and you may even be given a chance to join the rest of Megacorp in Nebula. Secure your place now before the rest of the TWA Expanded Universe explodes in a vortex of unsustainable greed.
Wait, what?
But let's not focus on that. Get excited for your new dream platform, Nebula. Exciting opportunities await, along with outstanding Nebula originals, like Real-Time History's series on the Soviet nuclear program called Red Atoms, or Lindsay Ellis's Nebula original on Jurassic Park. These are all exclusive to Nebula. Nebula is a streaming platform built by YouTubers, podcasters, and other creatives. Should YouTube fall, the TWA universe will live on thanks to Nebula, a place free from YouTube's fickle policies allowing for experimentation in content. Signing up using TWA's link also gets you free access to Nebula classes, where the creators of Nebula offer you tricks and tips for being a creator, or just generally good advice, like Simon Clark's Turn Data into Stories, Georgia Dow's extremely useful class on beating anxiety, or how to analyze stories and enrich your own from the mind behind like stories of old. Support the channel, secure your place before it's too late. Use the link in the description and escape to Nebula today! Megacorp is not liable for the destruction of the TWA Expanded Universe. The CEOs actually don't plan to save any of you chumps. More space for us. See offer for more details. Well, I hoped we all learned something inspiring. It's important to maintain high-quality customer service when we when we provide satisfaction-guaranteed security service. And for our first security contract, you will finally remove those pesky space communists to pave the way for greed's ultimate ascension.
Killing space communists? Great! The Federation's democracy didn't work out. Maybe corporations running things won't be so bad.